everyone, it's Shell from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is for the Team Tiny May 2022 hop and it's all about ATCs. So I'll tell you what ATCs are, tell you a little bit about Team Tiny, and show you how I made this adorable dancing hippo ATC. So we're going to start off with the Kindred Stamps set Hippo Hooray. I'm going to be inking up the main image in some Lawn Fawn jet black ink, as well as stamping the very bottom of the hippo because we're going to create a mask. So I just stamped it onto a piece of scrap paper and I'm going to be fussy cutting it out and then using the very little glue that is left in my Zig 2A glue pen to attach it to the bottom of the image so that we can mask it off and create a stage. So if you have Zig 2A glue pens, don't throw them away. They make fantastic removable adhesive. When the glue is blue, it means it's permanent, but when it turns white and you just leave it out and dry for a little bit, it means that it can be repositioned and it's fantastic for masks. So now I am putting the mask on and I am using my brand new Honeybee Stamps Bitty Buzz Cutter to cut out these two swag pieces for the curtains. I thought that I was going to use the curtain dies, but then I realized it would cover too much of the hippo. So I came up with an alternate plan. I feel like every time I do this, or every time I create anything, I have an idea in my head and then something else happens and I have to adjust. Just like here that you'll see. So I cut out two pieces originally and I took a dark red Copic marker, I believe it's R89, and I wanted to go over those embossed lines. However, my hands were a little bit shaky and I used too much of the marker and it didn't go into the grooves right. So I'm just going to color over both of them. I ended up not using the second one and I'll show you why. I went through my stash and found this stencil that you can create a stage with, and I thought this would be perfect for the floor that the hippo is dancing on. So I am going to place it so that the angled edge is in the bottom left-hand corner of the ATC when I have it turned correctly. And then I am going to mask off some of the parts that I don't want with just that scrap piece of red cardstock that I used to cut out the swags. I'm using Distress Oxide in tea-dye ink, and I am going over just that one side of the stage. Then I'm going to move the stencil so that the other side of the stage has the same slant to it or the same angle because I wanted to give it a little bit of perspective. So I'm also using that same tea-dye Distress ink on that. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of brushed corduroy underneath where the hippo is because that would be the darkest area and I'm going to create a little shadow. And I've never used this color before and I really like it. The brushed nickel is a pretty brown color, so I'm going to have to use it more. I don't use my browns nearly as much as I used to when I created wood backgrounds or like tables and things like that for my cards. So now we are going in and going to add the lines to the floor. So I'm just using a alcohol safe pen and I am drawing in the floorboards here. And this pen was really, this is a Pilot V5, I believe, and I use these in my Cricut, and they have a really fine point, and I wasn't really getting some good lines there, so you can see I was having a little bit of trouble. So I drew the lines in and then drew where the planks would meet each other all the way down the board, or all the way down each board on the floor. So once I had the floor the way I liked it, I was trying to figure out what to do about the curtains because initially I thought that I was going to use the die cuts. And then I realized there are curtains in this stencil. Why don't we just draw them in? So that's what I did. I drew them far off to the side of the hippo so the hippo was fully visible because that was the problem with the die cuts. It would cover the hippo and I didn't want that to happen. Now if you were doing this on a card, obviously you have more real estate and you could do that and use the die cuts. So I'm going to draw in the curtains and then I'm also going to draw in the lines on them to match the swag at the top. So I'm going to just outline that. So while I'm doing that, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about ATCs. So if you're unfamiliar with them, ATC stands for Artist Trading Card. And it's just a smaller canvas, which for some people it's less intimidating. It generally takes less time to create, and you can just stamp an image down and color it in. You can create a scene, which is one of my favorite ways to do them. And you can incorporate a bunch of different mixed media in there. You can create shaker ones. You can create multiple layers with depth and dimension. You can use all different kinds of product on it. They're really fun. If you haven't tried it out, I would recommend you try it. They generally are 2.5 by 3.5 inches, and they fit nicely into those baseball trading card pockets, the protective sleeves. There are also groups that will do trades out there. I know I've participated in a couple of Kindred Stamps trades, and they were really fun. It was a theme, and then you sent in 8 cards, and then you got your 8 more cards back from 8 different artists, and then you added your card to it. So all 9 of them were filled with the same themed. So it was pretty cool. So back to the ATC real quick. Here's where I try to use both of the swag pieces, and I decide against it because I think it looks a little bit too much. So I was going to put the swag pieces, I was going to cut them in half and then actually do the opposite. So I would put what was the left-hand side on the right-hand side. And I just didn't think that it looked right. So I put it to the side just to see, because sometimes if I come back to something, it will, a new idea will come to me. So I decided that I'm going to color in the image. I'm using that same marker, which I believe is R89, to color in the curtains. Now they are going to be a little bit darker or lighter than the swag because the swag was done on some red cardstock. So I'm coloring that in, and then I will get to coloring the rest, the hippo, and then the background. So while I'm doing that, I would love to talk to you guys about what Team Tiny is and what we do. So Team Tiny is a collection of card makers, artists who have less than 1,000 YouTube subscribers, and we come together once a month with a theme and create them for you. So our videos don't have commercials in them because we have less than 1,000 subscribers. We're actively looking to grow our channel through hops and things like that, and it's so much fun to just see what everybody creates every month with the theme that they're given. So I hope that you enjoy this. We have a lot more good themes coming up. We've brainstormed and have come up with some really different things in the next coming months. So hopefully you will subscribe to everybody's channels, leave comments and love. Everybody loves reading what you guys think about the projects. So can't wait to see everybody's in this hop because everyone is so creative every time. So now that's a little bit about who we are and what we do, and we're going to get back to the card. You're going to see here that one of my biggest pet peeves about Copic markers happens to me. Actually, I think it already did. The marker just went all over the place on the hippo's foot. Yep, over there you can see it. It just kind of all came out, and I will fix that a little bit later, but that's one of the things, like sometimes the markers have too much ink in them, or one side just gets too much of the alcohol and the ink just comes out way too quickly and puts a little dot on your paper. So if you notice that there's too much ink on your alcohol marker, you can take the cap off of both ends, and that helps relieve some of the pressure so it won't do that onto your card. But I end up using a little bit of the colorless blender plus some background color plus a little bit of white gel pen, and you're probably really not even going to notice it in the final product. So I left a lot of this coloring in. A lot of it is pretty basic. I don't really use and I don't do too much because it's such a tiny area, so I don't blend a lot of I blend a couple colors together. It's usually the most I think I did was a 3-color blend with the hippo. So there you see I've taken both ends of the marker off there so that I do not have another accident on my poor little hippo. And at this point, I went way too far to start over again, because sometimes I would, but this piece was definitely salvageable. So try salvaging your piece if something like that happens. If you get a fingerprint on something, because always without fail, I get some type of ink or fingerprint or something on it. If you get ink or fingerprints or something like that, a mono sand eraser is probably your best friend, and going over it a couple times and just sanding down that paper pretty lightly. Don't go in really heavy-handed, and the color should fade. And then if you put something over top of it, you should be able to cover it pretty easily. So now I'm going to go in with some Copic, I think R or RV, Copic markers. I think one is R and one is RV. I apologize, I didn't write down the exact colors. To go in and fill in the skirt as well as the bottom ruffles. So I knew that I wanted pink. My nieces are in their dance recital. The youngest one, Mila, has her first ever dance recital, and I'm so upset I have to miss it. We are going to a Thomas Rhett concert and then Hershey Park. So unfortunately, I will miss her first ever dance recital. So I'm going to tomorrow, actually, which will be today for you guys that watch this on Saturday. We are going to go to the park, and they are going to perform one of their dances. Both of them, Nora and Mila, are going to perform one dance number out to the public in a park. The only problem is it's going to be 97 degrees. So it's going to be a really hot, long day. But my sister-in-law said they are going to have ice cream. So that's kind of how she got me to, well, I didn't know it was going to be 97 degrees when when I said I would go. So looking forward to that and to see them dance, because last year during Nora's recital, Mila sat in the audience and cried and wanted to get up on stage, and we told her she didn't have a costume. She couldn't get up there. So she was wearing a dress, and she pulled the skirt out and said, "My costume." And she thought she had a pretty dress on, and she thought she could just get up there and dance. So she was very sad that she couldn't last year. And I'm sure that she's going to be that kid up there that's like, "Follow me, I know what I'm doing." So super excited to see them dance tomorrow and then watch their dress rehearsal in a couple weeks. So back to the ATC, I am now taking a light green marker and going and putting in a little bit of a background, because I didn't want to keep it white, but I didn't want to take away from the vibrant colors that were there, and didn't really want to add another color, and didn't really want to go with gray because of the hippo. So I just thought this really nice pale, like minty green would look really, really nice and set it off, set the hippo off nicely. I also am going in and putting little rosy cheeks on the hippo and filling in her ears. I'll go in with a white gel pen and add some little dots in. I like to add a cluster of 3 dots on each side whenever I do animals, because I think it just looks so cute. I'm using my Honeybee Be Creative glue to glue that swag down. I'm going to do 2 more things after adding the dots. I am going to add the Lawn Fun sparkle pen to her eyelids, because you need some glittery eyeshadow. And I'm also going to stamp the word twirl down at the bottom. That was included in the Hippo Hooray stamp set from Kindred. I'm going to use that same jet black ink from Lawn Fawn. I think it just needs a little bit of a sentiment. Doesn't need a full sentiment, but just that action word I think looks really cute. And I was brave and just used a stamp block instead of a stamp positioner, because that sparkle pen was not dry. So that's the project for today. I hope you enjoyed learning about ATCs. Make sure that you follow along with everybody. Hit the hashtag in the title of the video and it'll bring up everybody's projects. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave comments and questions below, and I'll see you guys again real soon for another video. Bye!